Unfortunately, accidents happen. My daughter left the car door open, and when her mum reversed down the driveway in a rush to get her somewhere, the door was left on the front fence post. In steps an insurance company, and I must admit, I surprisingly received good service. My car was towed away a few days later, fixed and returned. They also assessed my risk without making this explicit. Had this accident happened before? Was it likely to happen again? Do their car insurance premiums adequately cover the compensation liabilities? This type of risk analysis is standard operating practice for an insurance company, but they also need to consider risk assessment and treatment of their broader strategies and operations. The insurance industry in Australia is very competitive. Acquisitions are common and industry consolidation has occurred in the past 20 years. Barriers to entry are not very high, but often a new player must operate in a niche segment to gain market share. Aggregator websites where customers can quickly and easily compare product offerings have eroded margins. Climate change and weather patterns leading to more frequent storms, floods and wind damage is making calculating liabilities more complicated. Let's consider the following risks: increased buyer power, foreign exchange fluctuations, natural disasters. We can see we have risks related to Porter's 5 forces and steeple impacts. The risk assessment for these would involve a careful analysis to determine consequences and likelihood. In the past, these risks were assessed using historical data and anecdotal evidence, but now business analytics enables organisations to quantify risk and the impact of risk treatment options more accurately. The risk of increasing buyer power through increased transparency of information is monitored closely. An insurance company records every click on its website, where most of us purchase our policy. Integrated marketing campaigns record the sales pipeline to determine the cost of acquisition of a new customer. The risk of high buyer power is treated through an action plan that encompasses a deep analytical understanding of the customer and specific actions to engage and persuade customers to buy and to remain loyal to the brand. Foreign exchange risks affect many companies, and this requires a different approach. Although different economic and political situations can cause Forex to become volatile, there is a risk treatment for this: hedging. In this case, the company transfers the risk to another party. They buy options on the exchange rate they work with, and those options help reduce the risk of fluctuations. You don't hedge a risk to zero, but you can significantly reduce it. The natural disaster is perhaps the most difficult and challenging of our 3 examples. How do you predict the impact of weather? With data, it's actually not that hard. An insurance company can look at areas that have become more prone to flooding or experiencing severe storms. Already, some homeowners living right on a beach are finding it harder to get insurance. Although this may not seem fair, for the insurance company, it is critical that they understand where their liabilities will increase and for what reasons. What-if analysis and cost-benefit analysis are 2 concepts to keep in mind when assessing and treating risk. For our insurance company, they would use these when considering a new strategic option. Imagine that they decide to go into health insurance as a new product. There are many factors to consider. What if the government decides to deregulate the market? What if more customers decide to drop out of the market and risk not having private insurance as our society ages and premiums increase? What if new strains of a virus cause a long-term global pandemic that results in ongoing serious health complications for customers? All the variables can have probabilities associated to them. These probabilities are sometimes very hard to estimate. But an estimate is better than pretending the risk doesn't exist. The product of the probability and value to the organisation quantifies the risk. This can be expanded into probability decision trees, where expected payoffs are calculated for different strategic options. To recap, risk assessment occurs all the time in business, whether as part of day-to-day operations or larger strategies under consideration. There are different treatment options available to an organisation. One is to accept the risk and do nothing. A low-level risk might result in this outcome. Another is to transfer the risk to another party through a payment for that party to wear some or all of the risk. The third is to treat the risk through different mitigation strategies. When considering your treatment, you will use a cost-benefit analysis. You may also use a what-if analysis to try and uncover new risks that you had not considered and to focus in on which ones should be prioritised for action.